You pick it up before your eyes are fully open, before the coffee, before a single word spoken to another human being, before you even decide to. Your hand just moves the way a hand moves toward a flame, not because you chose it, but because something older than choice is running the program. And here is the strange part. You already know this. You have read the articles. You have seen the studies. You know what the phone is doing to your sleep, your focus, your relationships. You know. And yet tonight, when the lights go off, the hand will move again. So what is actually happening inside you? Because this is not a willpower problem. It is not a moral failing. It is not even really about the phone. It goes back much further than that. It goes back to a time when the most important thing a human brain could do, the single skill that determined whether your ancestors lived or died, was pay attention to anything that changed. Think about that for a moment. Your ancestors did not live in a world of abundance and comfort. They lived in a world that was trying to kill them. Predators moved at the edge of the tree line. Rival groups crossed into territory. A crack of a branch in the dark meant something. The individuals who survived, the ones who made it long enough to have children and pass on their genes, were the ones whose brains screamed at every flicker of movement, every unexpected sound, every shift in the environment. This is what neuroscientists call the orienting response. It was first described in systematic detail by the Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov, who noticed that animals and humans alike could not help turning their attention toward anything new or sudden in their environment. He called it the "what is it" reflex. Your brain does not ask whether a new stimulus is worth your attention. It simply gives you attention, instantly, involuntarily, before any conscious thought can intervene. The phone is the most sophisticated trigger for that reflex ever built. Every notification is a crack of a branch. Every red badge on an app is a flicker at the edge of the tree line. Every buzz in your pocket is the ancient alarm system firing and firing and firing again, and your brain cannot tell the difference between a text from a friend and a predator in the grass. It was not designed to. That distinction is only about 30 years old. The reflex is 2 million years old. But it goes deeper than just novelty, because the phone is not only triggering your alertness system, it is hijacking something even more fundamental, your social survival instinct. Humans are the most cooperative species on the planet. That is not a feel-good statement. It is a biological fact. We survived not because we were the fastest or the strongest or the most physically dangerous. We survived because we coordinated, because we formed groups, because we read each other's emotions and signals with extraordinary precision, and because being excluded from the group, being ignored, rejected, left behind, was functionally equivalent to death in the ancestral environment. A lone human on the savannah did not last long. This means your brain did not evolve to treat social information casually. It evolved to treat it as survival data. Who is angry at whom? Who has food? Who is forming an alliance? Who is leaving the group? This was the most important information in your world for hundreds of thousands of years. Now look at what a phone delivers. Every refresh of your social feed is a social status update. Every like on your post is a signal that the group acknowledges you. Every comment is a data point about where you stand. Every message you have not yet read is a piece of social information your brain is being kept away from. And your brain, running ancient code, interprets that as a potential threat. The psychologist B.J. Fogg at Stanford University spent years studying what he called captology, the science of how technology is designed to change human behavior. His conclusion was blunt. The most effective digital products are not designed to be useful. They are designed to exploit the gap between your ancient brain and your modern world. They borrow your own survival instincts and use them against you. And they do it with one weapon above all others: unpredictability. This is the mechanism that makes everything click into place. In the 1950s, the behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered something remarkable about reward. He placed rats in chambers with a lever. When rats pressed the lever and received food every single time, they pressed it when they were hungry and ignored it when they were not. Predictable reward produces predictable, controlled behavior. But when Skinner changed the schedule, when the lever only sometimes produced food, on a random, unpredictable basis, something completely different happened. The rats pressed the lever obsessively. They pressed it when they were not hungry, and they pressed it when they were exhausted. They could not stop. A reward that comes every time loses its pull. A reward that comes sometimes randomly keeps the behavior going indefinitely. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. Casino designers figured out decades ago that slot machines are the most powerful application of this principle ever built for humans. What no one talks about is that your phone is a slot machine in your pocket. You pull down on your social feed. Sometimes there is something that makes you feel good. A message, a post that excites you, news that matters to you. Sometimes there is nothing. You never know which pull of the lever will pay off. And so you keep pulling. Your thumb moves down the screen the same way the rat's paw moved toward the lever. Not because you are weak, because you are human, and this mechanism reaches all the way down into the biology of how brains learn. Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist at Google, has said publicly that the teams building these products understood exactly what they were doing. The unpredictability was not accidental. The red notification badges were not chosen for aesthetics. Red is the color the human visual system is most sensitive to, a product of a long evolutionary history of tracking blood, ripe fruit, and warning signals in the natural world. Nothing about this is an accident. So now you understand the mechanism. Ancient alertness reflex, social survival instinct, variable reward schedule, exploited by systems designed by some of the most talented engineers and behavioral scientists alive. But here is the part that most people never get to. The phone is not the disease. The phone is a symptom. Because underneath all of this, underneath the reflex and the social anxiety and the dopamine loop, there is something quieter. Something your ancestors would have recognized immediately. Boredom. The moment before you reach for your phone, if you slow it down and really look at it, is almost always a moment of unstructured time. A pause in a conversation, a line at the store, a gap between tasks, a quiet room. Your ancestors lived in those gaps. They sat in them. They stared into fires. They thought long, wandering thoughts about nothing in particular. Modern cognitive scientists like Jonathan Smallwood at Queen's University have studied what happens in the brain during these unstructured mental states, what he calls the default mode network, and found that it is during precisely these moments that the brain integrates experience, generates creative insight, processes emotion, and builds the internal narrative that makes you feel like a coherent person moving through time. The phone robs you of those gaps, not because it is evil, but because the gap is uncomfortable, because your brain, built for a world of constant threat, interprets silence and stillness as the absence of information it needs. So it reaches for more data. And the phone is always there, infinite, bottomless, perfectly engineered to make sure you never have to sit in the gap at all. And so the trap closes, you never get bored, so you never integrate, so you never feel quite settled, so you feel slightly anxious, slightly restless, slightly like something is missing, even when nothing is wrong. And that feeling sends the hand back toward the phone again. The researchers call this technoference, the continuous low-grade interference of devices in the mental and emotional processes of daily life. Brandon McDaniel at Illinois State University has spent years documenting how even the presence of a phone on a table, not in anyone's hand, not making a sound, just sitting there, measurably changes the quality of conversations between people. Depth drops, connection fades. Both people, without realizing it, hold back. The phone does not have to be in your hand to be in the room. And yet, here is what is true at the same time. You are not broken. Your brain is not malfunctioning. Everything your brain is doing makes complete sense given what it evolved to do. You are running 2-million-year-old software in a world that is 30 years old, and the mismatch is not your fault. The people who built these systems understood the mismatch. They mapped it carefully. They built products that slide into the exact gap between who you are as a species and who you need to be in the modern world, and they did it to hold your attention long enough to sell it to someone else. Knowing this does not fix it, but it changes something. Because the next time your hand moves toward the phone before your eyes are fully open, you are not watching yourself fail. You are watching a 2 million-year-old reflex try to protect you from a predator that is not there. And you can decide, just for that moment, to sit in the gap instead. The crack in the tree line turns out to be wind, and you were never in danger at all.